Welcome to Dreamers to Leaders, Keeping It Real with Melody podcast. Melody is a classic dreamer who started as a flight attendant and worked her way to now a tech fashion trendsetter, thought leader, and dynamic entrepreneur in various industries. This podcast is for the dreamers and doers. Learn how to think, act, and speak big as business leaders share how they turned from dreamers to leaders.
Hello and welcome to the Dreamers to Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Melody. Our guest today is an award-winning entrepreneur and is committed to changing the way business is done. His company, Impact Grove, is a recognized leader in sustainably led business. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mike Brown. Hey, Mike. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here, Melody.
Nice. So I'm eager to learn about your company, Impact Grove.
Thanks, Melody. Happy to be here.
Tell us about backstory of your company.
Yeah. When I was thinking about starting the next business in my life, it was how could I make the best impact on society, the deepest impact I could possibly have. And I have beliefs that business is more about just making money. Business is about positive impact and leaving a positive legacy. So I started Impact Grove to help other impact-driven business leaders to succeed in the market, to help them really compete aggressively against companies that only care about money. So these are businesses I coach and advise to leverage their strengths in environmental sustainability, social justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion to attract the best talent and to earn more market share in customers in this competitive environment of capitalism.
Nice. I read somewhere in one of the articles, about you that you mentioned growing up, you had that notion that greed is good. Right. So from that type of upbringing and way of doing things to suddenly, having that quite the opposite of more of an impact driven type of philosophy. Tell us about that journey on how you made that sudden change in trajectory of the direction of how you want to do business.
Yeah, it's really a lifelong journey as a young adult and as an adult to keep learning and stay open-minded. I grew up middle class here in North Orange County. I went to Brea High School. Then I went to Chapman University. I studied undergraduate business school at Chapman. Great business school. The foundation of the teachings is really around the only role of business in society is to make as much profit for the shareholders as possible, which is the dominant belief in business and capitalism. Right. So when I was at Chapman, I started a company. I was 19. And by the second year we were in business, we were grossing over $1 million in revenue annually. And I was well on my way to accomplishing the definition of success of capitalism that I was taught in business school. But I always felt like there was something more to it, that we as leaders have impacts that we can be visible and really focus on the impact. Or we can kind of turn a blind eye to it and continue on the pathway of this simple definition of business we like simplicity in business. And we love that, hey, your only role is to go make as much money as you can. Okay, that's easy. I can go do that. But what about people? What about the planet? What about our impacts on those key stakeholders? And that's been a journey for me to discover that.
Wow. So yes, the triple points of having a people, profit, and a planet, right? So why do you think that that's important, and how does a business benefit from that?
Yeah, business depends on having a healthy society, and society is made up of a healthy planet, environment, and healthy people that are interconnected with one another. Especially in a globalized economy that we have now, we are interdependent on it. Let me put it this way. If we don't have a healthy planet for business to extract resources from in order to make its products and to kind of produce its services, business would collapse. If we don't have a healthy group of people that believe that they have a role in capitalism, in the ability to increase their own livelihoods. We don't have the talented workforce that wants to come and work with us in the missions of our companies. So it's this acknowledgement that, for basically since the Industrial Revolution, business has been extractive. We really have taken from the planet and we've taken from people. And we've hit a tipping point, if not now, it's coming very soon. This tipping point that stakeholder capitalism of the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit, those companies are already winning in the marketplace. They're attracting talent, they're attracting customers. And the dinosaur brands of caring only about profit are becoming less and less attractive to work for and to buy from.
I love it. So it truly is a win-win to have that. So talk to us about Certified B company, right? So your company helps with corporations to be certified. Is that correct?
That is correct.
What does it mean to be a Certified B corporation, and perhaps the processes in order to get there?
Yeah, Certified B corporations, which it's by B Lab, which you can find more at bcorporation.net. They are the highest level of certification that symbolize business as a force for good in society. It is a rigorous assessment that is audited and renewed every few years by B Lab to look at a company's impact on its workforce, on its community, on its environment, on the way it governs itself and reinvests its profits back into those stakeholders. It is an amazing certification. There's almost 7,000 certified B Corps around the world in 89 countries, representing almost 600,000 employees. As I write this, and there's about a 6-month backlog of demand of companies that have already submitted for certification. But there's just so much people wanting to become certified B Corps that they're going through it. One of my clients just recently went through the B impact assessment with me. He's got the points in order to certify, and we're excited to submit very soon. And he will be the next Orange County certified B Corp here in the coming months.
Wonderful, wonderful. So apparently it's a 200, is it a 200 question or 200 points that one need to kind of get through, and out of the 200, as long as you meet even less than 200, like 80, right? 80 is the only points that's required in order to be certified. But so usually, what's the time frame for one to say, "Hey, I want to actually having that seal"?
Yeah, so it depends on the type of company. Some companies have complex supply chains. They're maybe multinational organizations. A recent certified B Corp, Nespresso coffee, they are in multiple countries. They have farms in multiple continents. That's a very long and involved process. For a service provider like me, that I don't have a supply chain environmental footprint, it is much more streamlined in order to go through the B impact assessment.
So what is the normal average size of a company to make it impactful for them to go through the process?
I think the great thing about B Corp certification is how diverse it is. There are companies of all shapes and sizes and locations and types of businesses. The most prominent ones are your consumer packaged goods, large companies. Patagonia is a great example of a certified B Corp because of how great they are for the planet and for their people. But then, there's even here in Orange County where I'm from, there's apparel companies, there's banks, there's financial advisors, there's coaches and consultants like myself. There's farms that are even becoming kind of certified B Corps, agriculture. So you name it, the B impact assessment, which determines becoming a certified B Corp, is kind of like those Goosebumps books back in the day where you read a page and it tells you to turn to the next page depending on how you answered it. It's very flexible based upon the type of company that is being assessed.
Nice. Actually, I think that's pretty awesome for you, Mike, to actually find that niche of certifying, being a consultant for companies, because I think that's where the movement. That's kind of where, and if you want to survive in this digital age, in this heavily competitive capitalist world, right? I think we have to do something to differentiate ourselves, right?
Well said, Melody. Especially in a competitive climate where some companies are claiming it, but they don't have the integrity in those claims. Mm-hmm. Business knows, I mean, the data is out there. 86% of millennials and Generation Z want to buy from and work for purpose-driven, mindful, impactful companies. 86%. So if you put yourselves in the CEO's shoes or the chief marketing officer's shoes, you see that stat. It's very tempting that even if you're not there yet, to make the claims. So as a consumer, how do you know if a company that's claiming to be good for the planet, they're putting green colors on their labels and they're saying that they're eco-friendly? That's not regulated. That's not a regulated claim. There's nobody that says, like, when you make a product packaging for like a supplement or a shampoo, something like that, and you put eco-friendly on the label, nobody approves that before you do it. So in this world where there's lots of claims of greenwashing, the Certified B logo is the best way for a consumer to easily know that the brand that they're choosing to buy from, they're kind of voting with their wallet, is actually high integrity, and there's validation for what they're claiming on their packaging or on their website.
I like that, voting with your wallet. It's a Certified B. I mean, I'm guilty. I have a company, it's Runway. And because as a founder, I truly believe in that triple points, the triggers that we have to be mindful. But I'm glad that we're here and sharing this information to entrepreneurs, out there. There is a way to really just say, not just say it and claim it. As you said, like in my case, okay, it's not, it's a different type of leather, and we're trying to be mindful, but what does that really mean? But going through the process and having that stamp would give the consumer that peace of mind and reassurance that somehow they are truly saying what they are claiming to be. Yes. Right?
Well said, Melody. And the mission that you have in your company to really, women empowerment and the ability to support women in their comfort and in their style is definitely aligned with the culture of Certified B Corps. Mm-hmm. So I'm part of the internal network of B Corp leaders. I'm in the process of starting B Local Orange County to bring the county's B Corps together. And in those meetings with other Certified B Corps, it is a wonderful community. It is so diverse and loving and interconnected, mission-driven, purpose-driven. So there is the benefit of the consumer-facing benefits of the Certified B, but the internal benefits of becoming part of a community and part of a like-minded tribe of purpose-driven entrepreneurs is really priceless and provides high ROI value in areas other than revenue generating activities.
Purpose-driven tribe. I like that. So like-minded people, but I agree with you. It affects not only attracting the right consumer, right, which affects our bottom line, and really so attracting the right customer and talent, as you mentioned, right? Because there's, especially I think with a new workforce, right? They just don't want, they're very picky. And with all the choices out there, having this, you're attracting the right talent who really want to contribute, right? So that's awesome. So you're born and raised Orange County. We have a satellite office in Newport Beach. Love Newport Beach, so for we have a global audience, and for those not from California, this is truly a destination, a travel bucket list, right? Being in Orange.
Well said. Yes, it is. It is a beautiful place to live and to work. And I love this county. I love Southern California as a whole.
Me too.
It's a wonderful place.
All right. So let's talk about, capitalism and the myth of capitalism. Talk to us about that, Mike. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The big myth about capitalism is that it's all about money. And that's both an internal and an external myth. I shared a bit about that internal belief structure of capitalists, that we only are supposed to return profit to shareholders. But I think from the outside looking in, from a consumer point of view, the myth that all capitalists are kind of greedy and evil is a myth. There are so many people in the field of business that are thinking about their companies in a way to positively give back to their communities. Mm-hmm. And I think that it takes all of us having empathy for one another for us to solve some of our existential threats of, the climate crisis and social polarization. And I think that we need to dispel this myth that capitalism is all evil. I do have major problems with like extreme greed on Wall Street and things like that. To me, it's wrong when a company lays off 7,000 employees and their stock price goes up 10%. That just seems backwards to me. But in the world of business, there's so many purpose-driven people. Part of my mission is to help connect them with one another so that they feel like they're not doing business in a different way, that they're doing business in the way of today and into the future.
So what is Google's tagline? Do no evil, right? So hopefully they have the certified B in there. And for our audience out there, B means beautiful. I'm kidding. B means benefit, right? Certified benefit to the environment, to society, and all that good stuff, right?
That is correct. The B means benefit. And one of the great things that B Lab has done as well is to create a actual legal class for benefit corporations. It's now in 37 states, where in a corporate bylaws, you can form, like here in the state of California, I'm a California benefit corporation. And there's a line in my articles of incorporation that say that the role of Impact Grove Corporation is to return value to people, planet, and profit to its shareholders. Mm-hmm. And that gives us a legal reason to not always put profit first, but to balance the three stakeholders of people, planet, and profit.
So, I want to piggyback on what you said on, regarding that myth, right? So even for me, when I was kind of browsing through, articles about you and Certified B, at first it seemed like, it's an oxymoron where, here you are, capitalist, and, of course, profit, it's driven, by profit. And is it Adam Smith, the father of modern economy, where he was saying something about, the benevolence of the butcher, the baker, and the brewer, is not really about them wanting to serve you.
Yes.
But it's all, self-serving. And somehow the invisible hand drives it to the degree where it's beneficial to everyone, right? To the economy, to the workforce, and to the country, etc. Right? So, and I agree with you. If you're Starbucks, right? And if you pollute, the waterways and whatnot, then of course, it's going to have that effect, right? That compounding effect of trouble that you don't want as a capitalist, right? So somehow it serves you to do the right thing.
It does. And I think one of the best kind of hidden evolutions of the world that is helping capitalism do better is things like this right here, our phones. Our phones that I'm holding in my hand has increased the visibility and the transparency and the ability for everybody to say, that's wrong. That polluted river right there is wrong. What's the source of it? Then more people get their eyes on it, and we are able to track it, usually back to a business doing harm. And I think that as this transparency and this light has been shown on the harms being done through capitalism, it gives the companies the opportunity to make changes and to improve that. And if they don't, they will be put out of business either by regulation or by drops in consumer demand. But part of this also is sometimes the decision makers often were truly blind to these global supply chain problems. You know, if in globalization, as companies chose to outsource, they could say that they didn't know that their supplier was having human rights violations or was a gross polluter to the environment. They can't claim that anymore. There is so much transparency for the good that is no longer an excuse. And if they say that, they're easily called out. And I think that's a great thing for the positive evolution of capitalism, that there's nowhere to hide. And I think that's really good.
That's good. And looking at some of the advantage also of capitalism, not only is innovation, transparency, all that, the competition to better your product, services, and bottom line, it helps the consumer and then the entrepreneur, right? So it's a good cycle. And I agree with you with the power of this of technology, right? I mean, really, if you're doing well, it's amplified, with Yelp, with Google reviews, so on and so forth. And conversely, if you're not, then somehow you're going to feel the punch, right? And you don't want that. But let me ask you, I'm just curious with G7 and all these first world country wanting to talk about environment and what's good for society, so on and so forth. And yet, everyone uses a jet fuel propelled, aircraft. And of course, the hotel and all that, the cost of that. What do you think of that? What's your take on that? Is that hypocrisy, or there's truly a benefit to?
Well, I think that there's going to be complicated trade-offs as we move towards progress. And I'll say it this way: if there's like convening of parties like your COP27, your COP28, or your G7 summits, and there's no progress that comes from them, then it's a waste. But the in-person meetings for world leaders, I think, have the potential to have massive positive impact on moving society forward. But only if the talking turns into actions. And one framework I'm a big fan of, I'm wearing a pin here on my lapel for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. Those came from the 2015 Paris Accord, which was the world really coming together around the climate crisis and saying, what do we do about this? And 17 goals around human rights, around food and hunger, around energy, around pollution, around gender equality and equity. You name it, there's 17 SDGs. And I encourage and I open this framework to businesses that I meet with to say, pick 3 or fewer SDGs that you can make a positive impact on. And when a business says, I'm going to pick these 1, 2, or 3 sustainable development goals, they've now elevated their company to a higher level of meaning and impact. They're connecting with a global compact that came from this, I think it was COP, 20 or 19. And they said, we are going to think globally, but act locally. Mm-hmm. And that's the type of impact that can come from these conferences and summits where, to your point, Melody, I mean, people just jet setting all around the world, burning
with maybe 2 passengers in a 747, right?
Yeah, that is so wasteful and needs to stop. Sustainable aviation fuel, SAF, is so far away from being market ready that, all these carbon offsets are low quality carbon offsets. You can't really offset wasteful travel like that.
Right. So I read somewhere, was it like year 2045? Is it going to be in California? They're only going to allow electric type of trucks. So no more diesel, right?
Yep. The 8,500 and above pound vehicles will have to be all electric, and passenger cars below 8,500 by 2035 in California.
You know, I also saw somewhere, and I thought that was pretty creative, somewhere in Asia, where instead of using plastic, they actually use banana leaves. Banana leaves to actually store whatever it is that they put in, the shelf in groceries and whatnot. I think it looks so appealing, and somehow off the bat that they're not using plastic. Yes. That is all recyclable, biodegradable, all that good stuff. So truly the creativity and innovation are some of the major advantages, aside from what we talked about with retention and attraction of talent and attracting the right consumers for bottom line, right?
Absolutely. And just think if there was a local grocer here in Southern California that started doing that, how many people would talk about that sort of smart innovation?
Totally.
And it's word of mouth marketing is a goldmine and hard to achieve. I mean, virality on social media is kind of a thing of the past these days. And if stores can make moves like that, it attracts customers to come buy from them. It attracts storytelling and word of mouth marketing. It's a brilliant strategy to go for right now for companies.
So now I'm thinking of the name of a good, similar like a Trader Joe's, but very much into that sustainability, right? So why not, Mike? Let's do something like that. All banana leaves, I think there's also in Asia where their grocery bag are made of a certain type of plant that's durable enough, but it's totally biodegradable because it's made of this plant. But I can't think of the name of the plant, but it looks trendy too. It looks beautiful. Yeah. So it could be, so really the creativity and innovation is also, for me, another real big plus of doing this. What would you consider to be a disadvantage of capitalism? Or do you?
A disadvantage of capitalism, I think, is its existing reputation. I think there's skepticism in the public that capitalism is good for people and the planet. I think that's an uphill battle for capitalists and entrepreneurs like myself to earn trust. I just think in public right now, there's not a lot of trust in any large institution of any type. I think that over the past decades, because of harms done, many of the world's largest institutions have become less trusted. And as long as business invests into building trust back, I think that's an opportunity. And I think the brands that are high integrity, high impact are going to build trust fast. And we're already seeing that with some of the brands I mentioned earlier today. And we're only going to see more of it, especially as the buying power shifts from generations that aren't necessarily as passionate or as aware about the future of the planet and the future of social equity. And that moves towards youngsters that are now getting greater buying power. Their jobs are coming. Wealth, $30 trillion of wealth is being transferred from baby boomers to Gen Z over the next 10 to 15 years. Mm-hmm. Think about that. Think about how they can invest and spend their money. So this change is happening rapidly. And companies that are moving now have the advantage now and into the future.
So listening to you, I'm just thinking when we were doing our marketing, right, and branding for Runway. So brainstorming and what have you, and we look at the competitors, right? What's flourishing? And really one brand, I don't know if you're familiar with Tom's, but it's a brand where really, I mean, with all due respect, it truly is not aesthetically pleasing in terms of how it's made, right? However, because of the consumer that you were alluding to a while ago, or talking about, in terms of people really are drawn to if you're going to wear something, might as well, that voting, right? You vote with your wallet. Despite the fact that I mean, really, I could think of a lot of brands, that are just more trendy, more appealing, more sexy, more sophisticated. And yet they are, till this day, their grossing and the revenue are really, really up there. Same with Patagonia, as you said, right? So, and a lot of other brands that are really, raking it in terms of profit because of, you can also, sense, I think, the sincerity, right? The sincerity, because before, I don't think there's really that certified, B yet, but, their consistency in branding. And in my podcast, we talk a lot about, branding and, consistency of message and whatnot really has a subliminal effect, to, consumers, and thus are drawn to that brand versus another brand. But with your company and what your company does, to help corporations, that will just elevate more and amplify the volume of their belief, right, as a company.
When I went to business school, I was taught to market to FAB is the acronym: features, attributes, and benefits. What I coach companies to do in my efforts at Impact Grove is put mission above all of that. Mission to money is a checklist that I put together. And I actually, if it's okay, I'll share the link to it. It's just mikebrown.com/checklist. And it's all about marketing your mission. And that's what Tom's did. Tom's marketed that for every pair of shoes they sold, they would donate a pair of shoes to a child or a person in need. Massive social impact. And they sold for hundreds of millions of dollars to a venture capital group that is still continuing on with positive mission in the Tom's brand. They don't do the one-for-one model anymore, but they are continuing to make a social impact through the brand. So there's also this myth that purpose-driven brands make less money. Purpose-driven brands aren't acquirable. They don't get bought. They don't have an exit strategy. Totally wrong. I can point to many examples of brands that are actually being acquired and are massively valuable to be looked at by other companies. So I think that's another huge myth to dispel.
I love it. Mike, truly, honestly, I wasn't thinking that there's more to this than just kind of your belief as a founder and whatnot. But, having this dialogue, truly, I'm sold. And I'm hoping that we can impart that, to our audience out there. And over 90% are business owners, right? Entrepreneurs, or want to be, in the C-suite and wanting an exit, to start their own business. If we want to flourish, if we want to thrive and really compete and rise above competition, this is a very good way. And also another layer to that is legacy, right? At the end of the day, yes, there's profit, but I mean, personally, that's important, to me. We're only going to be here, for maybe 100 years or so, right? Good bet. But what are you going to leave behind? And it's not just cliche or trying to be like mushy about it, but that's the truth, especially as you have a child, and family is important to me. And I want to see everyone still enjoy what we are enjoying, right? I mean, really.
So well said, Melody. The legacy, and kind of starting with the end in mind. Part of my story I haven't shared yet with your audience, and again, it's just so good to be here with you.
Thank you. I'm glad you're here, Mike.
Part of my journey, probably the biggest part of my journey, was in 2016. I met my wife, Katie. And she was born in the Philippines. She moved here when she was 2, grew up in Visalia, California, then graduated from UC Irvine with her degree in sociology. And for me, as a white male from Orange County, California, straight white Christian, I've had just about every privilege possible for me. Doors open for me, no ceilings above me. And I've learned about my wife's journey as a minority female and her family's journey. And they had obstacles. They faced adversity. They had doors closed in. They had ceilings above them, but they freaking pushed through it. And they made it to success. And they built a strong foothold here in America. And they've accomplished that American dream of increasing their family's quality of life. And for me, I look at that from now in my family's legacy. You know, we have a 4-year-old daughter. And as I thought about what business do I want to start next, when I started Impact Grove, it's so that I'm honoring my wife and her family's journey, and I'm supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion in businesses that I coach, and positioning it as the right thing to do, and also positioning as how it's good for their company. And I would say that when my daughter is 24 instead of 4, I think that she will be proud of the work that I've chosen to do. And I hope that for other entrepreneurs out there, they're thinking of that. When your children are old enough to understand what you do, are they going to be proud of it? Or are they going to look at your company and say, I wish you chose to make a positive impact instead of only caring about money? And that's a huge eye opener for many people that I've asked that question to. And it's a challenge. And it's then as a human being, we have a choice of which direction do we go? Do we take the path of impact and legacy and paying it forward for future generations? Or do we only prioritize money and fame and things like that in the current present time? And I hope this is inspiring some to think bigger and to think about impact.
I love it. No, thinking bigger is actually good, because playing small doesn't really serve anyone, right, Mike? And I love that story. Thank you for sharing, Mike. And while listening to you, I remember back in our ethics class at LMU, one of the litmus tests, if you know you're doing the right thing, right? So the litmus test is, are you going to be proud? Are your kids going to be proud? Are your parents going to be proud with what you've done, right? Because it's not like you're always recorded with what you're doing, but with what you've done, is it going to be something that you are going to be proud? Your family and people that you care for will be proud. So good point there. The other thing that I got from what you said is, with your child and with your wife, right? There is, saying that the how will always follow if you have a big why, and your why is your family. So that's very beautiful, Mike. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for validating that. And I just have so much more empathy and I guess advocacy for people who haven't had the same life experiences I've had. And I think that we, as people, we make the best decisions we can in that moment in time with the information and skills we have at that moment in time. And I think the best way to approach that is to always be learning and be open-minded, and don't be closed off to the way that we currently see things or the way that we will always see things. And as I learned about that, and my wife also focuses on sustainability in the built environment, design, construction, buildings, and she helps other people to focus on environmental sustainability. She was some of the first seeds for me of caring about the role of business in the environment and for the planet. And I think the moment that we stop learning and being able to absorb new information is the moment where we start to be at risk in our personal growth. I'm not going to say we start dying, but it's one of those things where if we're not learning and growing, what are we doing? We're regressing.
That I'm a big proponent of that, and a total advocate for learning, being open, being curious, and really questioning the status quo, right? Just because this is being done for the longest time doesn't mean we have to continue, continue to keep doing what we're doing, right? And I also want to piggyback on, so shout out to Katie, your wife. So say hi, to her from me. But, truly, I like that you also validated that there is that privileged white man's world. I mean, really, maybe we don't want to talk about it, but I remember, starting out, and I was new to this country. And I'm sharing this to hopefully also inspire, those that want to be entrepreneurs. Yes, there's going to be barriers. I remember because it was dominated. It was dominated by white male folks, right? And I was young, I was new, and, there's just all these that are different from what everyone is used to. And I remember one of the managers in the company that I first worked here in the US. He said, "What? Really? Seriously? You got in? How?" Because apparently, all these, folks really wanted to get into this company. And, I don't know. So
how did that make you feel when he was surprised?
Yeah, I didn't know that it was surprising because I was just going through the motion. But he said that as part of the insurance world, insurance professional, one of their wish lists is to get into that company and get to that path, so on and so forth. And for some reason, a lot of them tried and couldn't. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't know any better. I just knew to just, one more short story about that. New to the country, didn't really know much. So I asked those that were being paraded on meetings and whatnot. So the successful ones. So I would mindfully have coffee with them and just say, "Hey, if you would redo your life, what would you do? What would you have done differently?" And they would say 3 things. So, and then another person kind of looked at the common denominator, and I said, "Okay, then that's where I want to be. That's exactly where I want to be, with whatever it is that they said would have been their wish list." Right. And yeah, so life has been good, but you're right. There is that privileged. So being female, minority, single mom with 2 kids, at that time, and trying to learn the streets.
Yeah.
Everything is just freaking new. But, a lot of challenges. So if you're born here, you can speak the language, the culture, you're like 70%, 80% there. You just need a little bit more and
yes,
a little extra on your ordinary way of doing things.
Well, yeah. And to so many of your points there, and thank you for sharing that. I think that there's also representation and definitions of like where people are in positions of leadership, dreamers to leaders. And I realize now, having my wife and daughter, how powerful it is to empower dreams of leadership when you see people that look like you in positions of leadership. And for me, growing up as a young white male, I saw it everywhere. Positions of leadership are people that looked like older versions of myself. And I love now seeing progress, that there's more positions of leadership of Asian women, Black women, Hispanic women, non-straight people, LGBTQIA representation in positions of leadership in business, leadership in government. I think that is more representative of the diversity in our country. And I think it adds value because we're not, it doesn't take anything away from a straight white male like myself to have other people that are not us represented in positions of leadership. It doesn't take anything away. And I don't feel any guilt or shame about who I am or what I've done or any of those things. It's just a matter of love and empathy for individual people, but also for our country and for society as a whole, that there's a lot of people that have many life experiences that can add value into all these areas of leadership. And to have more representation now is just going to empower more dreams of leadership into the future. And I think that's inspiring and gives me a lot of optimism.
Nice. So listening to you, the diversity and inclusion. Again, if you look at California, right? Love our own. But look at California. We thrive. We're what? The number one economy in, per capita income, right? In the world almost. But why? Why? Because part of what we do is we embrace diversity, right? I go out of my street and I have, rows of restaurants. And if I feel like I want to eat Ethiopian food, there is one. You know what I mean? If I want Cuban food next day, it's there. Everyone is represented here. And we, for the most part, of course, we're not perfect, but the inclusion is very much around. It's very much alive here in California, right?
Yeah, for sure. And where we live in Irvine, they have an international festival every year. And all these cultures from Irvine come together. I think there's something like 86 languages spoke in the city of Irvine alone.
87. Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's so energizing to feel the diversity of cultures coming together, the foods, the music, the ceremonial attire, just the different ways of hugging and greeting each other. It's so much fun. It's actually we went last year as a family, and it was one of our favorite days to just kind of immerse ourselves in these diversity of cultures.
Right. And I think, another thing that I like about Orange County specifically is, not only is the diversity, like you see it everywhere, but the wealth that you see around you. I mean, it's in your face. I love it. I mean, really, we insure boats and yachts and, all these beautiful, beautiful, magnificent homes. Well, there's a reason, right? There's wealth there, there's prosperity, there's also diversity. So you kind of put things together.
Yes.
So as we wrap up, Mike, share with our audience the best way for them to reach you.
Yeah, you can reach me at mikebrown.com. That's my website, and you'll be able to contact me directly there.
So for all our entrepreneurs, business owners, executives out there who really want to start their journey on being a certified B company, really because that's who you are, plus you want something for the consumers out there and for the world to know that this is what you stand for, then it's good to look into Mike's company, right?
Awesome. And yeah, for more information on Certified B Corps and the work we do at Impact Grove, that would be impactgrove.com as well.
Wonderful. Wishing you continued success, Mike.
Thank you, Melody. It was such an honor and a privilege to be here. I enjoyed our dialogue and conversation today, and I'm grateful to have been here.
Same here, Mike. And for all our dreamers out there, keep believing. You got this. Till next time.